It's like,
Welcome to mobile phone therapy, where Paul is having a little a little
I'm
little
okay.
little challenge.
I'm okay.
Are you sure? Because I don't know if you are. That was quite the outrage. 10 seconds before.
You know, my wife and I just traveled to Dublin, right? And so we were walking down the city, and before that, we were in Paris. And same thing, you don't want to interrupt the moment. You're walking around and you're looking at stuff and you're talking about things, and you see something you want to take a picture of, and you take out your camera, your phone, and then in the case of the Pixel 2 XL, which is what was my current phone, you wait like an interminable amount of time for it to rotate the screen, and then you click on the camera button and nothing happens, and then it finally appears. And by now people are like waiting on you, and it's
Mm-hmm.
frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the many things I was looking forward to with the new phone, whatever it might be, would be the faster performance of the camera. And
Sure.
this
Who wouldn't?
weekend, yeah, I know, normal want. We're at like my nephew's birthday party yesterday. I pull out the Pixel 3 XL, rotate the thing. It like slowly rotates. I hit the camera button. It like 1, 2. It's a brand new phone. It's a brand new phone. And what's amazing is this problem that I just described isn't even in the top 2 problems I'm having with the phone. It's brand new.
Go on. Go on. I'm enjoying this. Please continue.
Well, one of the things, so because you start using it, right?
Right.
And little things kind of creep in. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went upstairs probably Saturday, I don't know. I laid on the bed and I started doing Duolingo. And I spend like 10 or 20 minutes on it, depending on the day.
Mm-hmm.
And and I don't use it with headphones, obviously. So there's a speaker issue with it 2XL because it's got that speakers in the notch, where
Mm-hmm.
the sound is heavily biased to the right, which is the lower bezel. And it's true. It's there. It's like, it sounds like a little mono because it's mostly coming out of the right side. And you're like, this is something it would be easy to fix this. But it's, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. It's not completely horrific. Plus, I'm using the phone in landscape mode to do Duolingo anyway, portrait mode.
Mm-hmm.
The sound is really tinny, like echoey, and you can feel and I've got a case on this thing, dude. I can feel the phone vibrating with the speaking. And I'm like, okay, this has never sounded this crappy. And I'm like, maybe there's a sound quality setting in Duolingo that I'm not remembering, and I'm looking around, I don't see it. So I break out the 3, which I've still not returned, although I'd already registered to return it. And this one doesn't have a case. And it's got that same tinny, terrible sound. And you can feel it like almost quivering in your hand as it talks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should listen. Maybe it's the app. I don't know. So I played a movie. I listened to some music. And then finally I showed it to my wife, and I was like, break out your phone. I want to hear how these exact things sound on your phone. And the difference in hers is a 1.5-year-old S8 Plus Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
The sound quality difference is night and day. Hers sounds deep and natural, and the phone doesn't vibrate when it's emitting sound. Like, that's a weird one. But then this morning was that straw, people talk about the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know where this phrase comes from. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But I went out for a walk. It's a beautiful, freezing, cold morning. The sun's coming up behind clouds. It's like, this is going to be awesome pixel photography, whatever. And I'm listening to Audible. And it's I don't know, something about 1914 or whatever. Apparently some kind of world war broke out at the time. Anyway, I missed half of it because I would switch from the app Audible to Photos and bring the thing up, and the audio playback would stop. Now, I have vague experiences of this in the past. Like, you could be walking around listening to some audio stream, and like a notification goes off. And the phone audio, like the audio of the thing you're listening to, might pause briefly. Or something might happen that's sound related, and you deal with it, and then it just kind of goes back.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I don't know. Maybe I went into the camera app. I guess it's possible I'm going to record audio because, I could make a video or something. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's doing it automatically. Okay, it's not what I want, but it's okay. So I wait for the audio to come back after I take the picture, and it doesn't. So I go back to Audible, and it's sitting there like it's paused, like it's not playing. Actually, it's not paused. It's just not playing. Like, you can see the play button. You hit it, the audio comes back, and you're like, okay. But as I'm walking around, I took a dozen photos or more. This happened every single time. And by the end of the walk, I was like ready to freaking snap this thing in half. Like, I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. This thing is brand new. So I'm going to send it back.
Don't mind me. I'm just polishing up my phone that I really like.
Also, don't mind me because I'm going to rotary dial my. No, I mean, I guess the good news kind of is we're awash in a time period where there's like lots of great phones. You know, the 3 new iPhones are all fantastic. I don't have the 10R, but I mean, I think we can all agree it's probably going to be pretty damn good. The Samsung stuff from this year, the S9, the S9 Plus, the 9 they're all great.
Yep.
In fact, if I was willing to trade in my Pixel 2 XL to Samsung, I mean, I would only pay like $400 for that phone. Like, it's not that's incredible. But the thing is, my choice is complicated. I should say the OnePlus 6T is coming out this next week. Complicating matters is when I switch to Android, because I go back and forth between iOS and Android is not a big deal, especially for someone like me, because I use a lot of Google services and apps, and those things are just available on both platforms. It honestly doesn't. The phone in some ways doesn't matter. You may have your personal preferences, but unless you're stuck in some weird, like if you're stuck in the Apple ecosystem, I think going to Android might be more difficult, which of course is their nefarious plan. But as far as going back and forth, and you use Google Photos, Google Play Music, Gmail, whatever, I mean, this stuff works everywhere. It's fine. So that part's easier, but I'm on Project Fi, which really complicates matters. And one thing I really like, I used to use Project Fi on a secondary phone like you do and like Mary Jo does. So when you go to Europe, you break out this other phone.
Yep.
Because it's so cheap to use there, and you can take pictures. The camera's awesome. And when you come home, you go back to your normal phone. And I used to do that, and I could do that again. I probably will be doing that again now. But I switched to Project Fi last year, and the complexity to that is when you're in Europe, you're using a secondary phone number. It's like you have to kind of remind people, hey, remember to use this other phone number because I'm only here for a week or whatever it is. I switched my primary phone to Project Fi. So this phone number dates back to 2007. It's 11 years old. I got this phone number when I switched from Verizon at that time to AT&T so I could use the iPhone, the first iPhone. That's how old it is, And it's a lot easier to do that these days, I know, than it was, in the past. In fact, it's legally, they have to let you do this. But the thought of going through this process now, like, it's like a double-edged FU from Google, It's tragic.
Yeah. Well, sounds like you had a better weekend than I did. So, yeah, I'm glad you got that off your chest. You feeling better yet?
No, because this is all hanging over me now. This is like something I get to obsess over now for the next couple of weeks, right? Like I said, next week I'll be able to test the OnePlus 6T. I'm looking forward to that, but I know the camera's not going to be that good. I mean, I'd love to be surprised by this, but and then I don't get it in my iPhone 10R because I didn't pre-order it right away. There's a little trick to that. They don't sell an unlocked version.
Right.
As it turns out, if you buy the T-Mobile version, that's the unlocked version. It actually is the one with all of the support,
all the bands.
So it will work with anything. If I had known that earlier, I would have done this day one. I probably would have gotten it, sometime this week or whatever. But I didn't because I was going to get a Pixel and that was going to be great. So everything was centered around that.
So you have both Pixels though. Are both phones messed up?
Yeah. So
fantastic.
Like I said, the audio issue is the problem with both. I haven't been using the smaller one as much, and like I said, after a couple of days, I was like, okay, like there is a part of me that really enjoys the smaller size, the idea of a like a truly pocketable phone, and you can bump up the fonts and stuff, and I can read it, it's fine, but I don't know I don't know. I'm used to using these bigger phones. I really do kind of prefer it. But yeah, anyway, so I haven't used the smaller one enough to know if the multitasking issue is the same on both. I mean,
Gotcha.
They're identical. Of course, it's going to be the same. The audio playback issue is absolutely the same. The stereo issue is probably not the same because the smaller Pixel 3 has the same speaker on both sides. I would have. Well, actually, I don't even know that for a fact. Why would I say that? I'm not actually sure, but I haven't tried. I don't know that one. I can test that if you want. But the speaker grills are the same size like they were on last year's phones. If they put the smaller speaker in this thing just to make them the same, this is the dumbest freaking company on earth. I don't even. I you know what? I wouldn't put it past them at this point. I just a little frustrated.
Yeah, at least it's not coming through on the podcast. I mean, that's the important thing.
You got to be professional. That's job one.
It is. It really is. And I'm going to be curious to see how widespread these issues become, because that was that was the problem with the last gen. So,
well, I can tell you that I had read about the multitasking issue, and I wrote a story about it over the weekend. And what I said at the time was, I've not experienced this, which was true. That didn't happen to me until this morning. Now, maybe Audible's kind of a big app. I would say for one thing, it only has 4 gigs of RAM. This is a day and age when a lot of Android flagships have 6 or even 8 gigs of RAM. It's a cheap decision on Google's part. It's a $1,000 phone, but Android should be able to handle basic multitasking. It's not like I'm running I'm not running PUBG in the background. That maybe can be fixed with software. The sound issue is really confusing. I think this is a hardware issue. I hope I'm wrong. I have until November 5th to figure this out, so I don't have to return these today. So I'm actually going to keep using it. I probably will even review it, unless I cover other problems. I don't want to. Don't hold me to anything at this point, because I'm ready to go nuclear on this. But I don't know. I should say sorry. The speaker issue was people had reported the off center stereo thing, and I tested that immediately. I was like, "Yep, this is exactly what they said it is." The tinny, weird, rattly, vibrating sound thing. I had never seen anyone report that. That was something I independently noticed. I showed it, like I said, to Stephanie. We compared it with her phone. I got it this morning, and sure enough, there are reports about this happening to other people. As there should be. And I save reviews that people had written. I try not to read reviews before I write my own review of something, but I saved 4 reviews, and I don't remember who wrote them. It doesn't matter. My point isn't to trash anybody. I'm going to go back and look at these things, and I'm going to bet. I shouldn't bet. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't bet, but my guess is almost none of them, if not none of them, wrote anything about these problems. And this is a big problem, I think, in our industry, where things are reviewed very quickly because you have to get out there on day one. That's the feeling. If I don't do this immediately, I don't think you can review a product like this adequately, having only spent a couple of days with it.
Yeah, especially in all new. Yep.
And we see this again and again. Those phones last year got great reviews, and users started complaining like immediately. And the complaints last year were so bad that I canceled my pre-order. I think the delta between pre-order and getting it was shorter this year. But now that it's out in the world, like all of a sudden it's happening again. And I'm like, this company it's like they're incapable of making a reliable smartphone.
Man punches self in face, sees no improvement.
It is the smartphone maker I deserve.
2 peas in a pod over there.
Yeah,
that is that's exactly what you two are. But there's also other things coming from Google, which actually this is a much bigger deal. Qualcomm is saying, or Qualcomm is working on an ARM version of Google Chrome. Basically, here the title says it all, that there is a Google Chrome version coming. Actually,
I'll add an asterisk to this, because the idiot bloggers that reported this did not delve into any details at all. And if you read it, it's pretty clear to me. They'd never say this. I don't think Google's involved. And what I think that means is they're using Chromium, not Chrome, which is okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the reason I think this is they mentioned twice about how they're working with they said OEMs, but their PC maker partners on what is required for them to ship this thing on their products. In other words, what should happen is you have a Windows 10 on ARM PC. You go to google.com/Chrome, and it gives you that version because that's your machine.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. If you're on Windows today and you have a 32-bit version of Windows, you go to that site, you'll get the 32-bit version of Chrome. You never have to worry about the weird incompatibility. 64-bit obviously gets 64-bit. If you go there today in Windows 10 and ARM, what you get is the 32-bit Intel version. And I believe that's going to continue. I don't think this changes. Qualcomm never mentioned Google. They did twice mention their PC maker partners in pre-bundling it. And this tells me, I think, that they're using Chromium, which is, it's okay. Chromium is basically Chrome. But what I was really hoping to see was Chrome explicitly supporting this platform, which when you think about it, why would they? Like, these are the guys that ignored Windows Phone for its entire existence. Windows 10 on ARM is a tiny fraction as popular. It's not even on the charts as Windows Phone. It doesn't actually make any sense for them to support this platform. And I don't think they are.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only company that wins by this is really Qualcomm. Not Microsoft, maybe a little bit, but Qualcomm is the one who is the biggest. Going to win on this.
That's exactly right. Like who stands to win? The companies that make these devices, a little bit, of course, and Qualcomm. Qualcomm's the big one. It behooves Qualcomm to answer this main concern, because when you think about the platform, you can kind of list the top 4 or 5 issues. There are the things they can fix. This is one they can fix on their own because they can give you Chromium. But when you talk about something like Adobe Photoshop Elements, which is a 64-bit app, it's it's a desktop bridge app. Qualcomm has to, in that case, they can't fix this. They have to go to Adobe and basically say, please do this. And Adobe's like, it seems like a lot of work for nothing. And they can be like, no, all you have to do is click a switch and then compile it, it will work. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it requires a different level of interaction on Qualcomm's part. So that's why it hasn't happened. I don't think, I'm sure from Adobe's standpoint, it's like, I don't care if it is a switch. Now we have to support this thing, and we don't know anything about it. And frankly, why would anyone using such a computer use an Adobe product anyway?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this comes out. And so if they are working on it, obviously it's not probably shipping super soon. I would imagine that if they are going to announce this, it might be like a CES timeline announcement when they announce, because they're going, maybe even maybe it's December, because that's typically when they announce their new chips, right? They mean, look, here's Snapdragon X and it runs Google Chrome, and great.
Yeah, right. I think I've used Chromium only on Linux, right? Because there isn't an official Chrome release on Linux. There must be a Windows version. I looked at the site briefly this morning, but I don't believe I've ever used it on Windows.
It's going to be great. They're going to go up on stage, and now we support Google Chrome. Google Chrome. Just leave off that.
You know what? Look, seriously, if I was a user of this platform, I would embrace this. This is still way better than using the x86 version.
Sure.
Right.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how this materializes. And so what we've got, the Apple event is week from tomorrow. Yeah.
Week from tomorrow. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do with their MacBook Air. That's the only thing that.
Yeah, which is another lovely $1,000 plus purchase I might be making, this year with the money I don't have, Speaking of which, actually, so one other part of this little story, this box here, what's in this box is my Google Pixel 2 XL, right? Because as soon as I return this to them for an exchange, I guess a trade-in, they're going to give me $400. Not in cash. They're going to apply it to the credit I used to buy the phone, right? Now, thank God I didn't send that thing in, right? Because if I'm returning this other phone, this new one, I'm going to need this phone. And getting a credit on an account that has no bill is the most worthless. I would have basically given this thing away.
Yeah.
So the only reason this isn't in the mail, it's literally sealed, addressed, ready to roll, is that I've been traveling so much. I fall asleep all the time. Like I can't go to bed past 9 p.m. We struggled to stay up last night watching a movie. We didn't even see the end of it. Both of us just fell asleep. And I was just too tired. I was like, Saturday I could have dropped this thing in the mail. I was going to. Remember, this was before I had any of the problems. And I was like, Monday's fine. Now I think I'm going to be opening this thing out. Back from the dead. Like a Jason from a Friday the 13th movie that's going to come popping up out of the box with its stupid USB port.
You should just keep the headphones.
Keep the headphones. You mean that came with the new one?
Mm-hmm. Because they're
I actually bought it. I had bought a pair, so I actually own
Uh-huh.
a pair that I bought separately. They were cheap. I think it was like $20-25.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, they're actually pretty nice.
That's not
It's like
too
the only thing they've ever made hardware that works.
Don't jinx it.
I know exactly. Probably strangle me. Man found dead listening to audiobooks. It's like killed
Trying
by
to
a
rotate the
Google
cable. Oh god. You got anything else
bro.
for today?
I think that's enough. That's most of it. How about you? How's your phone working, by the way? Everything
Mine's
good over
great. I mean, it
Yeah?
rotates. It's clean. It takes
there? When you
pretty
hit the
good.
camera icon, does the camera app actually launch?
Yeah, it does. It's every
That's
time.
a neat feature.
It is.
Yeah, every time.
I mean, it takes pretty good photos. I wouldn't say they're the best photos in the world, but better than most, I would say.
Good enough, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Oh, we all have priorities, Brad. You know, you having a phone that works is yours, and me hating myself is mine. So, I don't know what's going on anymore.
This is brilliant. All right. Well, folks, that wraps it up for today. Paul will be probably not in a better mood tomorrow. Let's just be honest about it. And have yourselves a wonderful Monday. We'll catch you tomorrow.